Chapter 7, Section 2, Deserts. What is a desert? It's the driest biome on the earth. That means that it has to receive less than 25 centimeters or 9.8 inches of precipitation per year. It also means that it can have desertification. So that means that it can lose of up to more than 10% of the productivity in the soil because of either erosion, deforestation, overgrazing of what few wildlife there are, some drought, and of course there are other factors that's not listed here. There are some geologic processes that happen in the desert. There are weathering, of course. There are debris in the desert that comes from mechanical weathering. So over long time spans, you have clay and thin soils that form from chemical weathering. So there's both types of weathering here. You can see the different types of weathering from all of these different pictures. Water plays an important role. Most streams are what we term ephemeral. That means they only have water in them after it rains pretty heavily. So you can see an example of an ephemeral stream here. The before and the after of the two on the bottom. The desert landscape, however, those streams dry up long before those streams ever reach the ocean. So it's either by evaporation or they infiltrate into the soil. So that water, even though it's very important, actually never completes the water cycle. In this case, it does not reach the ocean. We have interior drainage in the desert into what we call a basin. And those basins, when they have that drainage, can produce what we call an alluvial fan. And that's just a deposit of sediment that forms where a stream stops suddenly and you have an elevation change. So the alluvial fan, here's a great image. You can see we have this desert stream, this ephemeral stream coming down. And then you have this elevation change, and all of this sediment just kind of gets dumped. And when it dumps, it kind of starts to form this fan shape. You can see a different side here, and again here. We also have what's called a playa lake, and that's a flat area on the floor of an undrained desert basin. So it fills and becomes a lake after a heavy rain, but then of course it starts to evaporate and infiltrate into the soil. So for example here. Erosion is a big factor in the desert. Wind erosion is the most significant in deserts than anywhere else. However, water still does most of the erosional work in the desert. So even though wind erosion is a huge factor in the desert, water still does most of the erosional work. And you can see the difference in water on the left versus wind on the right. So today, read 7.2 in the Earth Book. You will have an assignment for deserts, and we will work on the soil project some more.